Well, today we're working on something a little bit different. You're looking at a Cummins ISX 12-liter big old diesel engine in the back of a Zephyr motorhome that belongs to a friend of mine, and we was doing a few little odds and ends with it. And of course, diesel's not my normal thing because if you watch my channel, we're usually talking about the Vortec 8.1. But I thought it was interesting, and it might help somebody out. While we was doing some other things, we started up. I noticed I had a real high pitch. To me, it sounded like a bearing squeal. It was so high pitch and constant. It wasn't like a belt squeal where belts kind of chirp or come and go. It was high pitch. So my first thought, well, he must have a bearing going bad. But I didn't know for sure. And you can see this engine's got several idler pulleys around it. So I got to thinking, okay, well, before we dig into it, let's try to determine if it's a belt first. So we did some troubleshooting with, well, it's a little squirt bottle here with water, because I would have showed you on the video, but diesel engines are so loud you probably couldn't hear it anyway. Of course, with the engine running, I just took my little squirt bottle with water, sprayed that belt, didn't make no difference. Came down here, I sprayed, here we can see, oh, it's a tight spot. So then I went down here, I sprayed this belt like that with it running, didn't make a bit of difference. But then I finally hit this belt. When I sprayed that pulley right there, then the squeaking, the high-pitched noise, squeal, whatever you want to call it, instantly went away. But within about 15 seconds, it'd come right back. I'd squirt it again, then the noise would go away. So at least I knew that was the belt. But what interesting was, you looked at the belt, it looked perfectly fine. Of course, then I got to thinking, okay, I didn't know for sure, is it the belt the problem, or could it be the tensioner? Sometimes the springs can get weak on the tensioner arm, and that can also cause a belt squeal or squeak. So the belt can be just fine, but it could have possibly been this tensioner right here. So to test that theory, I put a breaker bar on it instead of a big square hole, and I actually added more pressure to it, made the belt a little bit tighter, and it still squeaked. So then we took the belt off. Of course, like any good RVer, my buddy carries a spare belt. So we took that off, put the new belt on there, instantly took care of the squeak. So it was cured and took care of. But I wanted to point out to you, so of course we got another spare belt. Now where's the old belt at? Hang on, we got it in here somewhere.
It's a lot different.
So I found this interesting. So this here is the belt we took off. Now the first look at it, if you don't have a new belt to compare it to, you would look at that belt and say, well, that belt looks perfectly fine. There's no cracks or anything in it. Looks good on the back side. But then when we got the new belt in, I laid them side by side. Then you could really see the difference. You can see how much wider the belt is. So it would be my assumption, as these belts wear, they bottom out. So I guess when they bottom out, they're losing on that serpentine, you're losing surface area, so it just can't grip enough and it starts to squeak. So by putting that belt on, so it can be deceiving looking at these belts, but I just thought, while you're looking at that, or if you hear a noise, the water trip works pretty good, at least to determine what belt it is. And I know for us on our 8.1 Vortec, that you usually see me working on, because it's just got the one big long belt, so it makes it kind of easy. But sometimes you get in a situation you got multiple belts. But as doing this, there's something else it dawned on us. While changing this belt out, because you got to keep in mind, you need to make sure you have the tools. So if his belt was to break on the road, we got to thinking, man, if that belt broke, because we had a time, luckily we drew a schematic out. Where do our schematics go? There we go. All right, so we drew out a schematic, because there's 3 different belts. So before we started taking things apart, we did a schematic on each one. And because, hang on, hold that for me, because there's the AC schematic, and there's the last one. Yeah, the alternator. And I dealing with these in the past. This is the one we changed, because my world is lawnmower world. There's lawnmower decks and belts. I deal with this all the time. And you get a belt that breaks, and sometimes they can thread on 2 or 3 different ways, and you sometimes get creative. So if you was going down the road and you snap this belt, and then you got a new one, and you didn't have a diagram to go by, it could be interesting getting it back on. But also you got to think about, do you have the tools to do it with? We thought we had the tools, but we really didn't. We had basic hand tools, but what we found out is like the breaker bar was too long to get the tension off this where's that right there. So we put the breaker bar on that tensioner arm idler, to relieve the tension, but the breaker bar was too long because it couldn't rotate it the way we wanted to, and then the ratchet was too short because it didn't have the leverage. But because we're doing it here at my house, I had a little piece of cheater pipe we was able to use. Here, hold that. And so by using a little piece of cheater pipe, it made it just right. We had enough leverage to get the belt loose and get it all put back on there. But if he was on the side of the road somewhere and that belt broke, if he didn't have a little piece of cheater pipe, then he might have been having a lot of difficulty ever getting it changed by himself. So now we know we got the tools we need, with this piece of cheater pipe, with that ratchet. So it's a great idea to carrying the belts that you need for your RV or any vehicle if you're traveling a lot. But also keep in mind, do you have the tools to replace the belts? And also, more importantly, is keeping those schematics around. Like on my 8.1, I took, because I've only got the one belt, I took that and I've got it taped to the bottom of the fan shroud, so it's always right there with me. So we'll put these up in a Ziploc bag or something other, maybe tie them to the engine or put them somewhere safe. But I'm doing everything one-handed, and it's windy, of course. But that would be a good thing to do, because if you snap that belt, that one's not so bad, but that alternator belt is a doozy. That belt goes every which way, and that could be threaded a couple different directions. Yeah, that one there. So if that one breaks, it could thread a couple different ways. So having these little schematics can help out. But anyway, if you happen to have an ISX, what's this thing again? ISX 12 liter?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what we're working on today. And we got the squeak you took away. So anyways, that's our little tip. Hopefully it'll help somebody out if you happen to have one of these big monster engines. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed day. See you, bye.